One day, the Dragon City has been attacked by the alien creatures. Because of this, the Dragon City have been fallen after these alien creatures conquer them. A guy keeps trying to kill these alien creatures, but it's too impossible for him to eliminate them all alone. He trying his best to restrain the alien creature, but a golem caught him and severely damaged him. He was doubting if he can still fight these alien creatures after the damage he received. He wants to keep fighting these aliens, but one of the monsters that he hit earlier attacks him with its magical veins. Because of this, he can't do anything anymore and he's dying slowly. While he's being captive, he tells to his parents that he tried his best and he wasn't happy about it. After this, meteors have been falling down toward the city, resulting of the destruction of Dragon City. Suddenly, an old professor was mad teaching his students because no one paying attention at him and also about the topic that he's lecturing. Just a moment, our protagonist named Meng Chao woke up at his classroom and he's confused why he has classmate. Along this, he notices that he's not dead and he read the incoming entrance examination that will come in 50 days. This is because he returned as third-year student. His teacher notices him and scolded for his disturbance of the class. All of a sudden, he was so shocked that teacher Yan wasn't dead, making everyone shocked from what he said. His teacher was so mad, demanding an explanation about what he said. Meng Chao rushes toward his teacher, explaining that he has a nightmare about the Dragon City being attacked by ruthless alien creatures. Even the century-old homeland has been destroyed. Mr. Yan was so frustrated about him dying and about the destruction of the Dragon City. Because of this, he wants Meng Chao stands against the wall with a head up, chest out, stomach in and ass out. Meng Chao was skeptic how would he do that while he stands against the wall. Mr. Yan tells a story 50 years ago when the Dragon City came from the other world that had plagues tormenting them and zombies are rampaging city. After the zombie, a fog have arrives and the monster shows its appearance, making the countless martyrs sacrifice their lives to eliminate these monsters. So, he asked Meng Chao if they submit these monsters, and Meng Chao answered him respectfully that they didn't submit to these monsters and Dragon City was not destroyed. Mr. Yan told him that the Earthlings are the most ones who are the most ruthless in the world. The students were so overwhelmed about this, and suddenly one student stand up from what Mr. Yan said. He was motivating them to study hard to become superhuman and rise up the Dragon City. He encouraged the students that Earth will win from those aliens. Meng Chao notices that he might have grudge against him. In his previous life, he missed the college entrance examination because the class rep injured his internal organs. However, when Dragon City began the war of races, he actually fled from the battle and sold them out. He calls the class rep with a gnarly looking, and suddenly he apologized for what he said and praising his class rep to point out his mistakes. After this, in order to spare him by Mr. Yan, he needs to do the dragon hibernation stance until the class ends. Everyone was laughing at him for underestimating him and thinking he just acts cool. Even the class rep was expecting that he deserves the punishment. After getting ready, Meng Chao started to do the dragon hibernation stance and did it so well. Because of this, everyone was so shocked, even Mr. Yan. His classmates that underestimating him notices that his stance was much better than the class rep. Meng Chao begs for excusing him to do that because his movement aren't perfect. Mr. Yan ignores him and he go back to his lecture. The class rep feels embarrassed after what Meng Chao did. While he is on his stance, he saw something from his eyes. A system that loads in his vision, and suddenly the system showed up something. That kindling has been bound successfully, and the host identity was verified as Meng Chao, the fire relayer. This fire reminds him from his nightmare when the Dragon City is destroyed. This flame gushed out of the center of city and entered to his body. The system congratulates him on becoming the fire relayer of their civilization. Along with this, he was rewarded with 10,000 initial contribution points. The system wants to automatically upgrade him at his best state. Meng Chao's injuries can't do anything about his injuries from the past years, but because of the system he was able to recover from his injury. Just a moment, the system stops because he only has 3 contribution points left. He is confused how come he earned the contribution points. Mr. Yan dismissed the class and everyone was so shocked after he hold the dragon hibernate stance for long period of time. Meng Chao was so drained because the fire consumed his energy to repair his body and awakening of his skill. All of a sudden, his best friend named Chu Feixian came up to compliment him after thinking that he is training the dragon hibernation stance himself without him. Meng Chao forgot his money, so he wants Chu to buy his food and pay it tomorrow. But Chu was skeptic from him being generous and thinking Meng Chao must tricking him. He encouraged Chu as his half-brother so he wouldn't lie at him. Because of this, Chu was so happy and let him to borrow his money. Meng Chao eat a lot of food with Chu's budget. Because of this, Chu was so mad tries to attack him. But all of a sudden, Meng Chao's instinct worked. He accidentally hit Chu to stop him and Chu ran away back to their class. While walking, Meng Chao saw a street sweeper spills the rubbish. He decided to help the lady. In just a moment, his contribution points increased by 0.001. This is due to protecting the environment and promoting Dragon City sustainability. So, he realizes that's how he earns contribution points. As he goes back to his class, he is so bored from the class. Chu asks him about killing Mr. Yan and about himself if he become a great general and fight until his last moment. Meng Chao explained that he didn't kill Mr. Yan. Indeed, he saw him scattered by the monster, and as for Chu, he is doubting what would tell him. He either tell that Chu was a fat bear that in front line in the end, or was the monster war that about to escalate. But he changes the topic and not tell him about what would he become. Both of them dreaming. Chu wants to get in military school to become a general, while Meng Chao wants to get in college to become a superhuman. The next class, at the language class, everyone was waiting for their teacher Huang. Suddenly their class rep announced that their teacher Huang was sick and calls everyone to cultivation room for a self-study. As they walking at the hallway, their class rep was observing them talking to each other, and all of a sudden he scolded them for chit-chatting. Shu was so irritated by their class rep's attitude, but Meng Chao stops him to bear it for a while. They finally reach cultivation center to start their self-study. They must pick their own cultivation module and proceed to cultivating. Meng Chao wants to start a punching machine, and as he starts to punch it, he becomes clumsy because of the energy that consumed by the fire earlier to heal his wounds. Meng Chao rests for a while. He's watching Chu and suddenly, he smiled. Chu thinks that Meng Chao making fun of him, but Meng told him that he can't unleash his power in cultivation. Chu thinks that Meng Chao is just flexing at him, but he misunderstood that Meng Chao wasn't picking at him. Meng Chao invites him to go at the toilet. When they get inside that toilet, Meng Chao demands to take Chu's clothes to research at his muscle. Chu was so shocked, but he explains that his reckless bull force was circulated until it reaches below his ribs. Meng Chao asks he feels sharp pain at the sole of his foot to his knees, and Chu was so shocked that he knows about this. It means that he is halfway of the power running to his body when he uses reckless bull force, and he keeps training blindly. He might suffer to osteoporosis. Chu begs for Meng Chao to save him, and Meng Chao actually going to help him with the fire. After a few minutes, Chu feels that his power increases at least 3%, and Meng Chao wants him to try it. Suddenly a fire spark showed up in front of Meng Chao. The fire pops up, notifying him that Chu's basic technique along his learning progress at 10% and receiving 10 contribution points after helping Chu. This builds him an idea that he can teach the dragon citizen with a martial art to receive a contributed to civilization. The fire shows a list of skills that he may upgrade because this is the reward of his first contribution. After thinking rationally, he chooses the basic gun skill because it's the most expensive one, and this upgrade was only free. They go back the cultivation to try Chu's maximum punching strength. Chu tries to focus his power, and all of a sudden someone stopped them to use the punching force gauge. It was their class representative who stopped them after they sneaking out the cultivation and suddenly wanting to test their punching strength. Chu was so furious about how Zuo acting like as their teacher. Zuo was downing him and wanting to show as the reckless bull force must do. Meng Chao stops Chu from being mad and must focus for the information that they could learn. Zuo was getting ready to do the reckless bull force, and as he punches the punching machine, he lands a powerful blow with 225 kilogram force. Every girl was admiring her from achieving the class record of punching machine. After Zuo shows his record to Chu and Meng Chao, some of their classmates stopping him to try the punching machine. But Meng Chao persuade him to try it on his own. Chu was so furious that even Zuo stop him, he don't hold back. Chu throws away Zuo after blocking way to use the punching machine, and Zuo was so shocked he gets stronger. Chu charges his punch to do the reckless bull force, and as he punches the machine, he lands powerful punch that even the machine lift up. Chu overtook their class rep's record, and also, he achieves class new record. He can't believe that his punch was so powerful than before. Suddenly Meng Chao acts to praise Chu for practicing the super reckless bull without him and promote him that he overpowered their class representative. Meng Chao asked Chu for teaching him the super reckless bull even though he's the one teaches it to Chu. But Meng Chao tells to Chu that don't tell anything that he know to everybody before the exam because he want to use cultivation resources to pay their fee to Chu. So, Meng Chao still begging for him to help him, and the other encouraged to learn from him. By spreading his influence, the contribution of Dragon Citizen also increases, so he would be benefit from it. This way it results of his suggestion becomes the classmates more united, and his classmates are urging to learn, which could lead to more scoring good grades. All of a sudden he told to everyone that Chu was so unselfish and not elected as class representative because of this Zuo's reputation starting to fall down. Meng Chao was trying to help him and apologizing from what he said but didn't take it. Zuo swears that he will make sure that he won't be able to enroll to any university. After the class, they split 30% for Chu and 70% for Meng Chao. Chu asks about where he obtained the skill, but Meng Chao doesn't want to tell the truth about him, so he tries to make an excuse. They split their way back home, but Meng Chao stays because his past life he didn't like the mist because the mist sealed Dragon City and stop humans from Earth to go around killing monsters. Along with this, he doesn't really like the city. Building is way too dense. Streets are also crowded, and lastly, cultivation stress was too large. The youngsters secretly read books regarding Earth and watch the movie about Earth. The students every day only have 2 lessons of physical education, but can get countless language and math lessons. The adults needs to work for 8 hours every day to earn large amount of money, live in a big house, and eat luxurious food. But it was the Earth that they can't return, and a hellish nightmare about to come at them. Just a moment, the reckless bull is being passed down throughout Citizen, and the whole Dragon City's overall power increases. All of a sudden, an announcement was reported for them that the city will be entered by monsters on an urban area. The monster will be predicted at north side where factory area was. When he's on the home, a bus came up, and unlucky for him, the bus was bypassed him. He got hard time to tide the bus, but lucky for him, he caught up. He finally arrived at Hulin area where he lives. Suddenly her sister came up asking for help to carry the bucket full of meat. As he greeted her, his nightmare came up again. He saw her sister with menace-looking creature as a black darkness witch. This girl steps at his face, and suddenly he woke up from his nightmare. His sister was so mad after he make an unexpected reaction to his sister. Because of curiosity, he asked her sister if she will step at him if she obtains her power. Her sister denies that she won't do anything cruel to his brother, but in inner self she will step at him as hard as she can. Meng Chao asked again she's satisfied with him or mad, and answered again that she's satisfied at him, and again at her inner self she's unsatisfied at him as a bad brother. Meng Chao was satisfied with her answer, so he's confident at her. But she's curious who made her sister as Black Darkness Witch. As they got home, he's surprised by her mother with a spring roll. Because of too much joy, he cries while eating his food. Because of the noise outside of their house, his father demands to check the news at their television. At 8:50 p.m. the Battle Crab team will complete North City's arrangement. Their large metal crab is Dragon City's most advanced battle machine. As they watching, suddenly their TV turned off itself. All of a sudden, an earthquake happens at their place. This was caused by the monsters that coming at their area. A bug-type monsters arrive at their area. For a short period of time, the machines restrain the bugs' movement. Unfortunately, the monsters manage to reach the machine that protects them. These bugs suddenly evolve into a flying flame bug. His father gives him a gun to protect themselves from incoming intrusion. Meng Chao was ready to shoot the bugs, but all of a sudden the fire shows up again with an indication of activating the first combat mission, where he needs to kill 10 fire flame armor bug and 3 flying bug. He agreed to activate the mission, and he used his skill, basic shooting skill. He started to aim at the bugs and shoot it simultaneous. He managed to kill some of the bugs, and he received credits along the proficiency increased by 0.8%. Time to time he keeps killing the bugs without an ease, and his previous life's shooting sense gradually coming back. He remembers that there's one more mysterious monster that didn't appear yet. He keeps looking for the monster, and as he finds the monster, it was too late for him. Since his current basic shooting skill level, it can't even hurt the beast bug. The guards are trying to restrain the movement of the bugs to stop them reaching the resident building. Meng Chao rushing to kill the bugs to improve his shooting skill before the monster awakened. His father calls him to evacuate, but he insists to stay at the building because he knows what was that beast bug. The beast bug empowers the flame bugs to be more powerful. After killing several flames bugs, he finally completes his first mission and obtained 15 credit point. He makes his proficiency max to upgrade as his basic shooting skill to be master rank. His first mission's reward is confirmed, and his basic shooting skill upgraded to perfect rank. Because of this skill, he can finally see the weak points of the bug. He reloads his gun with armor breaker bullet. Unfortunately, he can't reload because he forgot to refit the gun. The monster spotted his location, it's about to attack him. While the monster attacking their place, he remembered that Xiao Cao was helping to kill the monster, but her loud gunshot attracted the beast bug. Because of this, her mother was seriously injured and hospitalized, and followed by bad luck, so Xiao Cao becomes guilty, and that time he planted the seed of blackness. Because of desperation, he shoots the bug multiple times. The bug was so pissed and started to charge its power on its mouth. But Meng Chao was waiting this perfect time. He used his basic gun technique perfect level while the monster charging. A huge explosion happened to its face, making the monster fall. The guards reported that the beast bug was being killed by Meng Chao and ordering to kill the smaller bugs. Meng Chao slowly fall unconscious from what he did. As everyone trying to help him, he thinks that his nightmare won't happen again. But he realized that the kill message wasn't show up after he shoot, meaning the monster was probably alive. Even he is so injured after what he did last time, he stands up and desperate to kill the monster to change the fate. As he going to use the reckless bull to kill the monster, someone pierced the monster's head, leading to its death. It was the super being that arrived to the city before the destruction happened. Because of what he did for stalling and making the important role in the defense, he was awarded with 1,978 credit points along the awaken of his basic skill Dragon Snake Aura and a beginner harvest skill. Because of the nutrient liquid that he eats from his mother cooked, he can move. He wants to be stronger as soon as possible to avoid chaotic things to happen. He opens the tender to see the exchange list. He saw the harvest skill that he can afford from his credit points. He exchanges beginner harvest skill. Just a while he learned the harvest skill. Along with this, he upgrade his beginner harvest skill to profession rank. Profession rank of harvest skill and perfect rank of shooting skill is a good combo for his situation. In his past, most of the monster wasn't evolving yet, means he was the only person who understand the most in Dragon City. After the battle against the monster, the resource recovery team goes for the corpses of the monsters because this is the strategic resource to sustain the development of Dragon City. Within 3 or 5 years, the Dragon City will run out of resources, starve to death, and die of being entrapped. The superhumans can execute a large number of monsters with cold weapons, and the corpses are preserved intact and many resources can be recovered, meaning humanity always depends on the superhuman. Being harvester was not easy job because he needs to be bold and careful. But Meng Chao insisted that he's not nervous to take this monster. His father keeps teasing him and wanting to use him a diaper to avoid peeing himself while harvesting. They've finally arrived at the location. Shen Rongfa, the general manager of Prosperous Resource Recovery Company. Due to Meng Chao's injury from the last year, the manager doesn't want him to take the job, but he considered him because of his father's team was good lately. His father promised that they won't cause any trouble, but Shen Rongfa, wanting to be brother-in-law, vexed. Suddenly Meng Chao's father feel uncomfortable from what he said. Because of this, Meng Chao got furious for making his father life being miserable from his previous life. After this, they go back to work. Since Meng Chao goes back from his past nightmare, he decided not to rely on other and wanting to build his own power to change his fate. Their work has been started to harvest the monster's corpse. One of his uncles teaches him how to extract the monster's body and explains every part and anatomy of the monster to use as resources for their economy. Later on, it was his chance to try on his own. Meng Chao started to dissect one of the monsters after he separated the central nervous cord. He put it to nerve cell activation solution with a density of 37% to keep it fresh. The arc of the No. 34 butterfly blade was perfectly peeled off the fleshy and carapace, so he used vacuum container, makes it easy to collect and store the scorpion meat intact. Lastly, the mucus is aspirated using a vacuum aspirator. Finally, he finished extracting the monster and he received a notification from the fire saying he complete the first standard gathering of materials as fire relayer. So, he gained contribution points and his skillfulness of specialist level basic harvesting skill increased by 1.1%. His uncles got shocked from being skillful and vigorously of Meng Chao even though it was his first time. Eventually, he told to his father and uncles that all this time after having the injury, he was dreaming of becoming an ace harvester after losing the chance of getting into the university. Meng Chao's father was so proud at him. They continue their work to extract the monster and Meng Chao works flawlessly. Somehow, he noticed one of the monsters was a golden spirit due to his harvesting skill, and one of his uncles was surprised that he can identify a golden spirit. He tried to explain that he just learned it from his biology teacher. He prepared the equipment that he'll use to start the extraction of the monster, and he's expecting to a high-grade material from a golden spirit. So, he needed to preserve it properly. He remembers that the internal structure of the golden spirit is complicated and must be handled by supervisor goo or superhumans. Since the nerve cord and neurosphere of the monster was exposed, the flesh will start to change and the spirit energy will be ruined, can be result of blowing up at any moment. He didn't waste any time and he removed the carapace of the monster, but someone stopped him. His father came into act for his son. He wanted to take all the responsibility of Meng Chao fails since it's a high-grade monster. His uncles didn't really want to stop him, but they want to educate him further and supports him. So they decided to let him on his own, and if he fails they will take the blame to protect him. Meng Chao started to dissect the monster, and a few moments of hard work he finally got the high-grade material from the monster's body. He ordered to his dad to use mithril-based cooling and stabilizing solution. They've noticed that this is etherealized nerve ball. His uncles were so amazed after extracting the etherealized neurosphere, even he's just a high schooler. Meng Chao seemed planning to do something about the neurosphere, but his father notices it and stops him for admiring the neurosphere. He insists the allegation of his father, and he's not desperate for this. While leaving, he is planning to find a way to persuade his father to set up his own business. So he go out to check the other location to find a high-grade monster. Somehow, he heard a seven-eyed wolf spider and run into it. Unfortunately, someone else got ahead of him already. He saw an old man and a girl trying to extract the monster. She said that she only needs 8 minutes to finish the extracting at the monster. Meng Chao was wondering if they know the condition of the seven-eyed dragon wolf spider. Suddenly, he stops them from extracting the monster. He introduced himself from them, and the old man was so shocked about how he knows the harvester's etiquette. Meng Chao stopped them because of the status of the monster in evolving state from being stuck at rank 1 and rank 2 super beast. He explains that the current inner structure was very weak and the new poison sac was very thin, and there's a possibility that the material might be spoiled. If the woman used her method, there's a possibility that the harvest would fail. The woman notices that he's a trainee harvester and no idea who was her grandfather. The old man wondering how can he confirm that the monster was evolving by only watching it, so he replied that he studied on his own for a few years, and he considered himself as a veteran harvester. Because of this, the woman got furious from what he said, like he was underestimating his grandfather. Meng Chao wants to prove himself, and he ordered to the old man to open the super beast shell and examine the body because it was starting to mutate. The old man decided to do the extraction on his own. He wants to show his skill to add this knowledge for his own, and Meng Chao was so excited. As the old man started to take the equipments, he noticed that the old man's hand was injured. That's why he wanted to do the extraction on his granddaughter. Somehow, he asked the woman if she had a 300,000 cash to assist them, because if they fail the extraction, it only worth 30,000 plus. So if they add his experience and skill to extract the poison sac perfectly, it will be worth at least 100,000 plus. But since they just met, he wants to charge them for only 30,000 for his skills. She got furious after what he said, thinking that his grandfather was being belittled by a trainee. All of a sudden, her grandfather stops her for some reason. It is because Meng Chao was right about what he said about the monster condition. She asks Meng Chao if he can really help his grandfather complete the harvest for 300,000 cash, but the old man wants to pay him for 500,000. Since he is not a superhuman yet, he doesn't have enough strength and senses, so he can only serve as the old man assistant. They decided to team up together to extract the monster's body, and they prepare to start. The old man requests for number 3 hilt, but he gives a number 7 rhombus-shaped blade with number 4 hilt. Meng Chao expected this, that he would ask for number 3 hilt with a number 12 pincer-shaped blade to separate the book lungs, but since this monster was evolving, it might damage the appearance. They started to clear up its surrounding before they deal the book lung. The old man got impressed by his skill of thinking. Because of this, Meng Chao received another contribution points after giving guidance at elite citizen Ning Shuo. They've been containing every organ that they could take from the monster time by time. Ning Shuo got so comfortable to Meng Chao as his assistant, so he wants to teach him the 7 dissection methods. After teaching the 7 dissection methods, Meng Chao tries to do this method, making the old man amazed because he upgraded the 7 dissection methods for reducing the harvesting time for at least 5%. Meng Chao receives another contribution points after performing the 7 dissection method perform. Just a moment, the old man asks who was his master, but he doesn't want to talk about who was his master yet. Because of this, Ning confused at him for asking a 300,000. Meng Chao wants to start a capital to form a team for himself and contribute much more to Dragon City. They didn't expect these answers at him from being kind of heart person. After this, he rushes to do the final operation to extract the poison sac because he needed to go back to his father as soon as possible. Finally, he successfully extracts the poison sac from the monster in a very good condition. Unexpectedly, the old man wants to send him 800,000, and Meng Chao was so shocked from their agreement on 500,000. The old man pays him more because of the knowledge that he received from Meng Chao. However, he asks how does Meng Chao know about his injuries. Based on the condition of his hands, he assumes it was caused by the venom of the purple-crowned Holly's viper that infect the ulnar nerve, radial nerve, median nerve, and lastly the optic nerve. Miss Ning asked Meng Chao if he can treat her grandfather's injury. Suddenly, the Tinder showed up asking if he wants to activate the first treatment emission type with a duration of 1 month, and he accepts it. Suddenly, the old man proposed a contract from the Thunder Squad as his harvesting team. But he wants to think about it, and they must be hurry because the poison sac isn't able to be kept for a long time. At his phone, he receives an $800,000 after helping them. He rushes to go back at his father to surprise him. He got so shocked after seeing his father in front for Mr. Shen with a broken container that has the materialized nerve ball. His father goes for Mr. Shen to buy the nerve ball so he can use to enroll Meng Chao in a university. Unfortunately, Mr. Shen was so greedy, ending up slipping the container at his hand and put the blame to his father. Meng Chao helps his father to get up and he observed the container for possible reason. Upon check, he saw oil at the glass from Mr. Shen's hand. That's why he didn't hold it properly. He wanted to split the payment from each other since there's no witness of who dropped the container. Mr. Shen, thinking that Meng Chao's father was so greedy to take the material for himself, and dropped it, and he refused to blame himself while he is slapping Meng Chao's father. He agreed and his father must sign 3 years of second-grade contract. His father left no choice, and he wants to sign the contract. Meng Chao was so sick about Mr. Shen for making his father suffering, so he pushed away the contract form. Because of this, Mr. Shen ordered to his bodyguard to attack Meng Chao. His father tries to protect his son from them, but someone hit him. One of the guards has a bat and swings at Meng Chao, hitting his shoulder. Because of this, he engages them with reckless bull technique and he fights them with his martial arts and manages to slam one of the guard. Suddenly, he activates Ripple Force and he wants to push to specialist level. Mr. Shen was one of the reasons why his father's life became miserable after signing the dangerous second-level contract. He didn't stop even though Mr. Shen begging to stop and have a talk with him. Because of his anger, he slaps Mr. Shen for changing the contract in his past life. He punches him for making Xiao Kao stop believing in legal justice that make her take the dark route at his past life. Mr. Shen peed on himself with a severe injury from his attack. He wanted to attack him more, but his father stops him to avoid being imprisoned. His father keeps stopping him, but he wants to kick him for the last time. Suddenly, the Guming Prosperous Resource Recovery Company business executive came up at the situation. One of this was the Master Tiger, Qin Hu, the Prosperous Resource Recovery Company big boss. These are the business executive of all harvesters' boss. In his previous life, these peoples along Shen Rongfa did many dirty things together at them. The bodyguard put the blame at them for destroying the rare material. Because of this, one of the executives wanted to give punishment from Meng Chao did. He talks at him for having the possibility to be sentenced imprisonment for many years and having a possibility to ruin his life. However, Meng Chao seemed fearless by wanting them to call the police and send Mr. Shen at the hospital to scan his injury grade. One of the executives was so shocked at him for being brave. Mr. Hu checks Mr. Shen's injury to scan his damage he took from Meng Chao. He was so amazed of how Meng Chao managed to hit Mr. Shen without injuring any bones and organs, and even if they sent him to scan, it won't even count as a light injury. So Mr. Hu throws away Mr. Shen, even he is one of his executives of the company. Meng Chao manages to take the interest of Mr. Hu for being skilled high schooler. Meng Chao wanted to negotiate at Mr. Hu for the interialized nerve ball. Since there's no determination of whose fault it is, he wants to pay the both sides for the half of the price since it was a rule from the company. The executive got furious after he thinks that they don't want to pay the medical fee from the damage he made. But he fought for his rights after him, and Dad took an injury from the bodyguards that used ancient martial skills. He shows the damage he took from the bodyguards to be equal from what he did from them. Mr. Hu got interested from him for being a witty person, so he asked them if they want to resolve it with his negotiation. The executives offer a $300,000 since it was the market price. If they paid $300,000, they can leave as they want. He underestimated Meng Chao thinking he lack of money, but he confidently paid them as soon as possible to finish the negotiation and to end the chit-chat. The executive was so shocked for having much money as a high schooler. After paying, the interialized nerve ball was belonged to him this time. He took the nerve ball and ordered to his father to take a silver nitrate solution so he can preserve it in. After he put it in silver nitrate solution, it evolves, and now it's worth $1 million. Mr. Hu got furious for knowing the price of the item increases. Meng Chao discovers that there's something inside the interialized nerve ball, so he got curious and take research for it. He used the conflict to get the price split in half so he could buy it a lot cheaper. Because of realization of being tricked, he got mad and wanting them to leave immediately with the item. Everyone was so happy from Meng Chao's success for making a risky decision. Finally, Meng Chao told to everyone proposed that he's going to make a new resource for themselves since he has the capital. Mr. Hu got mad again for thinking he's underestimating him and he doesn't know about the outside world. Suddenly, the old man came up at them that makes the executive shock. Ghost Han Ning came up with Shen Yupeng, the Thunder Combat Squad's co-leader. All of a sudden, Mr. Hu acted like a tamed cat. Shen Yupeng came for Meng Chao to seek any opportunity that he could work together. After a long conversation, Meng Chao goes for Mr. Shen to resign himself and take what belongs to him along the others' insurance that he scams. Mr. got so furious after knowing that he eat all the employer's insurance costs. He slaps him as a punishment for making Mr. Shen involved through the conflict. They leave immediately to trade the crystallized nerve ball. The next day, Meng Chao goes back to school with his new friends. Suddenly, someone came up to announce that the study group will be cancelled, and Meng Chao got mad. He assumed that class representative Shu was the reason of this. Everyone got mad for class representative Shu for thinking he doesn't want to be any students to exceed from him. But he tries to clear himself from them, saying he has nothing to do with it. Suddenly, another notification from the Tinder showed up saying the normal citizen Wang Longjun received guidance from him after learning portion of Reckless Bull that makes combat, ability, and knowledge of Dragon City citizen increases. Just a moment, Xing came to the classroom to tell to Meng Chao that Leaning Group will be cancelled in exchange of expanding and spreading the super Reckless Bull. Because of this, Meng Chao got shocked after knowing this report at him. He confidently announced to the students that the Reckless Bull will be taught to the others and will be guided by Xing and Meng Chao. Because of this, everyone was so happy and excited knowing that they will learn the Reckless Bull. Their teacher announced that there's 3 rounds that they must pass. The first round was the physical test to test the limit of the fist power, 100 meters sprint and shooting skill. The second round is revision, where the students using Super Brain virtual system to test the mental spirit of a student. Lastly, the third round is combat battle exam, which is their final exam where the students will go near at the mist where a true battlefield happens. One of the students complained about the 100-meter sprint seems unfair. His teacher got furious, stating that the world never been fair. He told to the class that Dragon City had nothing when Isekai-ed than facing monsters and zombie invasion. Only the super being are born in danger and higher up and to have all sorts of authority. It doesn't drop free from the sky and they must use fist, sword, even teeth to obtain the freedom from the monsters. After this, their teacher calls them out to do the first test. The students trying their best to pass the first test and so motivated to do thing to fight their city. This youth is a new generation that will be fought the monster to change the fate of their city. Shu got a new record of 233 from the punch machine, making the whole class shocked. Their teacher was happy about it for seeing the improvements from those students who joined the study group. Meanwhile, Zhu talking trash to other students while he's observing the other students. He remembers this scenario where he lost temper, leading him to challenge Zhu into a duel. Their fights result him to get injured badly and having a wound left behind him. Because of this, his body hurt, and he failed the exam. Meng Chao finally used his turn to show off from the whole class. Zhu sarcastically want to cheer to Meng Chao since he knows about his injury. Meng Chao insisted that stop for complimenting him because his body was still too weak and can only exert 50% of his strength. He starts to take his position. He's been using Ripple for throughout the past year to treat his wound, so he wants to try use this time. Meng Chao charges the Ripple force to maximize his speed. Before he run, he warned the class representative to step aside since was about to move. Meng Chao was unexpectedly run so fast, and because of the Ripple force it helps him a lot to improve better. He managed to run a 100 meter with 90 miles per hour within 8 minutes and 50 seconds. Everyone was so startled after seeing their last year top student coming back to top. His teacher got shocked and asked if he recovered from his wounds. He replied that he wasn't fully recovered and he's been practicing Ripple force for over the past years, so he found some new style and learned from it. Meng Chao started to offer if they want to teach it, they only need to give him some gene medicine, high-grade nutritional fluid, cell growth fluid, monster materials, or give him a discount on stuffs. Shu asked Meng Chao if he can maximize his punches force just like maximizing his 100-meter dash. So, he wants to try, but he didn't assure his full force since his heart got numb after harvesting for the whole night. As Meng Chao punches the machine, he blows a powerful punch with a 200-kilogram force that make everyone so shocked after he wasn't fully recovered from his injury, and some are happy for the comeback of ace student Chao. After this, he told to everyone that he was humiliated by Zuo Haoran multiple times, and this time he won't tolerate him. Zuo insisted that his tone is just little stern and he only want to motivate Meng Chao instead for a good reason. Suddenly he reveals a recording pen and play it to everyone that Zuo was saying that Chu will be forever trash and he would never get into the college. Because of this, everyone was so horrified from what he said, even they know that Zuo was a good person before. He furiously replied that he just framed up by Meng Chao, and there's no way a normal student would bring a recording pen as a daily basis. Meng Chao acts so pitiful by saying he was humiliated and cursed for multiple times, and did he think that he wouldn't learn his lesson? Zuo explains that Meng Chao trying to throw dirt at him and he only trying to put a stain on his name. Because of what Zuo did to him, he was trying to learn the Reckless Bull Force and Ripple Force so he can't be useless. Because if he fails, Zuo would laugh at him for being a trash forever. Meng Chao wants justice for himself and he broke the recording pen as the evidence. He challenges the class representative to obtain his justice. He wants to challenge him for a replacement of the class representative. If Meng Chao wins, he will be the class representative, so his teacher must don't worry at him. He wants to compete with their overall results since it wasn't against the rules in the school, and Zuo accepted this challenge. Their teacher calls for the class representative to follow him. As Zuo passed by, he warned Meng Chao that he has 1 week left and he should practice his gun technique properly. Everyone tries to comfort Meng Chao after what he was dealing at Zuo. Someone said that Zuo Haoran is a member of Falcon Gun Club, so he does target practice. But they must worry since Meng Chao's gun technique was pretty good. So, he was confidently it was a perfect timing for himself against Zuo Haoran. However, the woman with the blue-haired running away from a hand. It was Meng Chao hands and he was trying to adjust her muscles. All of a sudden Chu came up wanting to adjust his muscles but Meng Chao wanting him to get lost. After the class he thought of helping his classmates to study, but most of them thought as he's about to do something bad and he must adjust muscle stimulation naturally. But he decided there are more ways to contribution, and if didn't manage to get more contribution he might not cure his past injuries. Meng Chao goes for Chu to have a talk while they're going home. He ordered to Chu to look the Demon Yan and ask him to teach the super reckless bull, but Chu was hesitating they might get exposed. But he explains that their first benefit, since Demon Yan comes from the military, communicating super reckless bull with him will make him look at Chu in a new light, meaning in the future they will have an easier life in the military. The second benefit is Meng Chao preparing to find a chance to cripple Zuo Haoran, so he needs to find someone who is as strong, the teaching director. Their class's incident can't be concealed rather than letting them come to steal and learn from them, so he got an idea to teach Team 2, so they must get a good impression from Demon Yan and the principal to earn some benefit. So, they must find Demon Yan, and if the time comes, they can get into military school together. After this, Meng Chao hardly needed to find an expert for Ripple. Chu suggested the Ripple Princess, Yizushi Rong, since she is specialized in teaching teenagers with beginner Ripple. So Meng Chao takes this as a good idea. They go at Ripple Princess's live stream to disguise and take her attention. While the people trying to make a comment about their experiences, he tries to oppose and giving them a tip to improve their ripples. Some of the viewers thinks that he was just trying to ruin her reputation after hiding in a fake account. He tries to explain to other that he has no ill intention and only wanting to contribute to the society and let the whole city's citizens increase in combat ability. Because of this, he decided to privately message the Ripple Princess to avoid any intrusion of other people. After this, he sent a 1,000,000 spacecraft gift at her to get her attention. She thanks him for the support that he gave and willingly to improve her Ripple since it's not perfect yet. After this, her sister peeked at his room for noticing him having much money. As she peeks, he saw his brother holding a meat. Because he was filming himself doing the technique for the Ripple, so he can show how to do this. The next day after practicing the Ripple, he receives a message from the Tinder old man. She was so shocked after he saw the message that the Tinder old man sent to her. She can't believe how is that possible to this such things, so she called her senior to help her out. As her senior came up at the location, she shows the video that the old man sent to her. They become skeptic because of the uniqueness of the process inside the message content. After thinking on such thing, she wanted to show the video that the Tinder old man sent to her. An anonymous holding a meat and a tofu at the same time. All of a sudden the meat become liquefied like while the other hand he was holding a tofu but never broke down. So decided to told this to their master. At the same day, Meng Chao and his father talking about him for growing up soon. Xiao Kao told everything to their parents about what she saw. So, his father makes this short while saying all the things he wants to say. First, he was about to take the exam, so he must focus on cultivating, and after he finish his exam, if he had any girl he liked, he can bring her home to meet his family and his father support them. Second is the Dragon City's environment is bad, so he must take note of hygiene and safety protocol. After this, his father leave immediately. Suddenly the Tinder showed up receiving the contribution points because Yizushi Rong understand the Ripple little by little. While the elite citizen Yizushi Rong started to spread the new version of Ripple toward the normal citizens, and he received the contribution points from Yizushi Rong influence. He was thinking of what characteristics should he give his Tinder old man disguise. So, he came up with an idea of deviate characteristics, not just strong but also crazy when it comes to cultivation. He made comments to everyone's post about their progress of themselves and criticizing by giving of information to do this properly. So everyone would be interested at Tinder old man after being the social critic. After this, he received a bunch of contribution points and manages to obtain 3,000 contribution points after all he did. Meanwhile, at the Zushi building, She goes to her father to ask how strong was the demonic changed ripple. He replied that of course, how can you lie to the ripple princes? They've been skeptic from the thing that Tinder old man. Rumors have been spread after the Tinder old man teaches the demonic changed ripple, because it's ahead of era by whole 3 steps. Unfortunately, it uses the 20% oxygen of a person that can lead of exhaustion, so it's not recommended for the citizen. Due to its huge modification of style, it can affect the whole body. Because he tried to use this multiple times and the more he practices the demonic change ripple, the scarier he feels, so he assumes that the Tinder old man created the skill and wasn't a genius and probably a maniac demon. The set is designed for a more crucial era to provide them with skills to become 10 times stronger and face 10 times more ruthless and ferocious monster than the present. He came up with an idea: if they spread this, they will affect the military, and by teaching the departments they can take their trust. The next day, Meng Chao was preparing to go at the school, and he receives a 1,443 contribution points in just one night. He immediately leaves the house so he can practice to Cultivation Foundation. As he checks his phone, he saw a live stream of Ripple Princess warning the citizen from the new Ripple skill for possible unexpected consequences. She insisted that the demonic Ripple use their name to scam their reputation towards the citizen, so she begs to stop the action of the inventor of this set. Meng Chao was so shocked after hearing these words. After this, he decided to increase his beginner rank harvest proficiency for the upcoming material trade. He goes at the bathroom and thanking that he received a 1,058 contribution points. He finally upgrades his beginner rank harvest skill for more proficiency. He found the possible cure for the ghost hand Ning, a 100-year etching grass root and blood color female queen bee's wing. He needed these 2 important hints. Elder Ning should be able to roughly figure out the cure method. Luckily, he still has 1,200 points to upgrade some of his skill. Meng Chao used this in exchange of beginner cure technique. He goes for the 10 Yun building since Elder Ning told him that the material trade was held there. As he finally arrived at the 10 Yen building, he didn't expect the difference of the material trade and then his imagination and didn't change his cloth. But he doesn't care about this, so he still goes inside the 10 Yen building and shocking the rich people with elegant clothes. Unfortunately, as he gets inside, he got stopped by the bodyguard since there was a high material trade center and he can't get inside without an invitation letter. He insisted that he was invited by Elder Ning, but the bodyguards insisted that they don't know who is Elder Ning and he can't get inside without invitation letter. So, he got no choice than leaving the place. He calls for Mr. Ning to come out since he didn't give him an invitation, but Elder Ning was 10 minutes late from the convention, so he ordered to Meng Chao to give the phone to the security guard to tell it them. Elder Ning gives the invitation number at the guard so they can let him in. As Elder Ning apologizing for the inconvenience, Meng Chao was in it and happy go inside the trading center. Everyone have been flexing themselves inside the trading center, and he saw a guy from the Bobcat team for being most trusted harvester. After hearing egoistic people, he got some flashbacks from his past life of a skeletal people while saying the peerless fighters who stood supreme above others and had the entire city at their beck and call became ants who struggled to survive, meaning no matter how high person's position was in society, how matchless their martial art was, how rich they were, all of that turned into a dream and meaningless. He decided to eat since it can be transformed into a real power against monsters. Suddenly he heard people judging him for eating too much, like he's starving. He also heard some people talking about the powerful humanoid creatures. Meng Chao can't stop to laugh at the people because of being ignorant and being weak. Finally, Elder Ning showed up and he calls for him. While Zushi looks so elegant with her outfit that makes everyone shock and admire her. Both of them got shocked after they saw Meng Chao dressed like a country bumpkin. Zushi said that he always dressed like this way intentionally to make other look at him in disdain so that he can look for a chance to stomp on them and become famous in the harvester field. Meng Chao replied that he just doesn't like to be in the limelight at all. Elder Ning asked Meng Chao about his master telling about this such things. Meng Chao confessed that he don't have a master and explained that he got into mysterious senior in the deep web and his name is Old Fire Relayer. Both Ning and Zushi confused after not hearing this name inside their field. Meng Chao told them that he was a man of great strength and character, that free from the low life and intent on making a difference. He was a man of great wisdom, visionary and able to see into the future and everyone's knowledge. He's already subjugating, affecting and saving everyone. But still they got confused. Somehow the executive earlier was whining after being humiliated after Elder Ning supports Meng Chao. The guy pointed at Meng Chao for clarify if he's the one that the executive talking about. Meng Chao explains that Elder Ning's injury was already acknowledged by the Old Fire Relayer and gives an idea about the cure for his hand. 100 years heart corrosion weed and bloody queen hornet are both incredibly poisonous ingredients. The properties of their poison are also very close to that of the purple-crowned holly's viper poison. So it produces a peculiar muscle-sclerotic toxin that causes the purple-crowned holly's viper to die of cardiac arrest. The poisonous properties of the 100 years heart corrosion weed are just beyond the limit of stimulating the activation of muscle tissue, so as long as the ratio of the three is reasonable. The right steps and other materials to soften the reaction speed can achieve the effect of detoxification. Elder Ning was happy for this after knowing the possible cure for him. He receives a 43 contribution points after elite citizen Ning Shuo has gained a whole new understanding of toxicology. Meanwhile, the executive still grudging at him after what he did from their company. It turns out that this guy was Ning's brother, and he heard of rumors that his brother has been poisoned and injured, so if he go to the challenge at this time he will be suspected of taking advantage of his disease. So, they are planning something dirty from them. Elder Ning understands his explanation the further he explains everything. Suddenly Elder Ning felt something at his chest, impossible from the poison that he had from his body. He insisted that he's fine and started to ask about performing the 7 dissection methods in reverse. Meng Chao told him that the old fire relay didn't told him everything. He just said that old fire relayer was waiting for him to recover his hands and eyes so he can learn the brand new 7 dissection method in reverse to improve his harvest to create better future with all dragon citizens. Somehow Elder Ning goes to socialize from the trading center and leave everything to Zushi to take care of Meng Chao for a while. Zushi got blushed out after this because Meng Chao was still in high school and 3 years younger than her. They got shocked as Meng Chao finished taking the food that he wants. Meng Chao and Zushi talking about everything from their experience while someone was right behind of Meng Chao. The guy approached them both as in why she was there. Also, he asks who's the weirdo beside her. The executive came up saying that he knows Meng Chao. He was a poor kid who lives in Dragon City and he don't know how he got in. They teased Meng Chao after being the new disciple of the Elder Ning. All of a sudden she pours a glass of red wine at her face after getting mad from what he said. She was so furious after this and wanting him to get out of her sight. The guy was so mad after being poured by a wine inside the convention while one of his executives trying to comfort him out. This made his mind to give a reason to make an attack at them while leaving them up. He told them just wait and see what will happen at them after embarrassing him. She apologized to him for what Liao Feijun did to him, so she wanted to ignore him, but Meng Chao replied that he's fine and he didn't expect that she'd be so feisty, and just went to pour red wine at him. She blushes as Meng Chao replied this at her that she makes her felt something. Just as sudden someone called out all the people when the trade fair was about to begin. He wishes that the trade fair might be enjoyable for the audience. He shows the crystallized neurosphere in a good condition with 70% or more, and starting price will be 900,000, so they can start bidding now. Some of the rich people started to make biddings from starting of 950,000 to 1.3 million. 2 hours later, the most awaited unknown material identification session came and they welcomed the Bloody Wolf and their unknown material to the stage. The guy told that 3 days ago their fighting squad found an unidentified material in the depths of the fog, so they don't know its worth, that's why they brought it to trading fair. Suddenly Liao Feijun told to everybody that since Elder Ning has recently taken a new disciple, why don't let his new disciple Meng Chao come up to identify the item. This makes Zushi got furious because he has nothing to do with their family matters. Liao replied that Elder Ning was poisoned by a snake and it seems like that he has reached even greater heights, becoming friend with just anyone. But Elder Ning decided not to enter to his argument because he doesn't want to lower his status. Just a moment, Meng Chao stands up while confidently saying, "Alright, let me see this material." He was worried that he won't have a better way to increase his fame than this, so since Liao decided to put his face under his boot willingly, he have to stomp on it a couple of times or else he'll be disrespected. Liao can't hold himself wiping out Meng Chao's face, and he thought of this as the price that she paid for splashing the red wine at him. The guy with the suit told to Meng Chao to appraise the material. As he removed the cover of the material, a bright pinkish glow up the material. Everyone has no idea at this material since the spirit energy was so thick, and the super beast must have used this for decades or even a century to gather this amount of spirit energy. It turned out to be the material was the eye of the mosquito dragon, and the Blood Wolf team was really lucky to have this. So, he asked to investigate the item. Just a moment, he announced that he don't know this material that makes everyone so mad for wasting, so there's so much time. Liao bump him up and he wants to show off his skill after having a little knowledge about this material. The old man wonders if Mr. Jun is willing to solve the problem for everyone. In the fog to south of Dragon City there is a kind of single-eyed grass which bears fruit once every 3 years and has a very small chance of producing the mutated ghost eye fruit. When golden-furred pigs eat this mutated fruit they aren't able to digest it, thus turning into something similar to stones in their body. Golden furred pigs are grade 3 super beasts. Red-tailed golden python's favorite food. That once red-tailed golden python eats a golden furred pig with a ghost-eyed fruit in it. Thus, the ghost-eyed fruit will be stimulated by the digestive fluid from the red-tailed golden python and will be refined into the red-tailed golden python's crystal core, also known as aquatic dragon's eye. So Lio assumes that this material was aquatic dragon's eye. This assumption supported by the guy with the suit that you Master Jun said that this crystal core is indeed something they obtained from red-tailed golden python. The people compliment Lio for knowing this crystal core, and some people thinks that Elder Ning must be desperate for looking his successor. This makes him shocked that everyone thinking Meng Chao was his successor. He scolded Zushi after becoming enemies with Lio Feija and dragged his young friend, which is Meng Chao, into this mess. Elder Ning being skeptic of him being a high school student, that even he had a lot of guidance from the old fire relayer. There's no way he could identify all the materials in the depth of the fog. The negotiator asked him if how much does the aquatic dragon's eye worth, since this is the important question from these people. He told to everyone that this material was worth of 5.25 million. So the old man asks him if he had explanation for this such a huge amount of number. He replied that it must have been harvested in a rough manner that results on losing the flaw of aquatic dragon's eye that made at least 1/3 of its spiritual power, otherwise a perfect aquatic dragon's eye would worth 10 million. After this, he advised the Bloody Wolf to look for a professional harvesting team to work since they are getting stronger lately. Lio calls for Master Nai because this guy trying to become a 3-star superhuman and the aquatic dragons matches for him, and he offers this for 5.5 million. Master Nai accepted the deal with a 6 million in stake for the material. Vice Captain Zhao approved this price to be sold for him. While Meng Chao looks spectating the material, Lio give him a word that if he wants to become a good harvester, he needs to come from a family of learned scholars. He belittled Meng Chao for living in a public rental house and have no access to exotic treasures. He had no idea why would Elder Ning chooses him as successor, and he keeps teasing him. The audience gone shocked after knowing that Meng Chao only live in a public rental house, and there's no way like him be qualified to attend such a trade fair. The executive earlier studied Meng Chao's background, as he stays in a public rental house while his father live in low-ranking harvester in Prosperous. Before leaving, Lio had thought of Meng Chao had never seen the world before. Zushi was so angry wanting to beat down Lio, while Elder Ning wants to go up and help Meng Chao to get his dignity back. Just a moment, Meng Chao stops Lio while asking, "Did I allow you to leave?" and ask, "Is he really sure that this is an aquatic dragon's eye?" Because of he, Meng Chao mentioned that he didn't know what this item was, so he might just trying to avoid getting embarrassed this time. But Meng Chao replied that he really didn't know what was this, but he's pretty sure that this isn't an aquatic dragon's eye. Elder Ning tries to stop him from trying to preserving his dignity and calls him to go down from the stage. He explains that at first glance it would really like aquatic dragon's eye, however the second time he looked at it, he was pretty sure it was a monster dragon's eye, and he observed it for another 5 minutes. Lio opposed to his speculation to this material that he probably made up a monster dragon's eye. But Elder Ning knew that Meng Chao didn't make this thing up because he's not that kind of person. So Meng Chao explains that every 3 years the single-eyed grass bears fruit, and each time there is a certain probability of producing ghost-eyed fruit. Further, that the ghost-eyed fruit can also mutate. When it does, it turns into rarer monster-eyed fruit. When the monster-eyed fruit is eaten by a golden-furred pig, which is in turn eaten by red-tailed golden python, the crystal core will eventually produce to end up as monster dragon's eye. So he called Master Nai that if he used this monster dragon's eye as aquatic dragon's eye and make it into a genetic potion, he can use it to reach higher level. But the only result was a violent death on the spot. Meng Chao asked if they supposed to wait for young Master Nai to turn this monster dragon's eye into a gene medicine that could lead to his death. But Lio's still insisting he's just trying to save himself from embarrassment and talking nonsense. But Meng Chao fights for the harvester's like of work for being half understanding to talk nonsense that going to be a big thing. Lio still insisting the argument that the crystal was definitely an aquatic dragon's eye. He explains that ever why monster dragon's eye has faint bit of poison, so if they drill a hole and get some powder from it and put it into poison testing, they will able to get the reaction. This makes Lio get his interest because he assumes that he knows that they can't conduct a test like this. That's why he fearlessly saying these things. So Meng Chao replied that it's up to him to verify this and wait for young Master Nai to bleed and go crazy before accepting his mistake. Because of this, he asked young Master Nai if he don't trust Lio, and he's going to trust Meng Chao, who lives in a public renting house. But Lio wasn't the one who will eat this crystal, so he'd be fine. Suddenly a guy calls for an 8 million. It turns out it was Elder Ning wanting to pay him for 8 million to buy the unidentified material from him. This makes everyone shocked for supporting Meng Chao's assumption from the material. and young Master Nai agreed to this offer. Meanwhile, Liao got so mad after wasting a few millions just for Meng Chao's words. They brought the equipment to start the testing through the crystal. Elder Ning started to drill the crystal and used vacuum to collect the powder from it. Just as sudden, the crystal leaked out an aroma that smells so good. Everyone notices this also and starting to doubt if is it really a monster dragon's eye. Elder Ning puts the powder in a flash and started to pour some solution, and he took a drop of poison testing. As he put the poison testing, it was positive that the crystal was poisonous, meaning it's really a monster's dragon crystal. Elder Ning and Zushi felt comfortable after knowing that Meng Chao was right about this. On the other side, young Master Nai was so mad knowing he almost died from trusting Liao. Because of this, Meng Chao receives a bunch of contribution points after helping the trade fair community. As Liao was going to leave the stage, he got called out by Meng Chao for being impolite for reciprocate when he's given something, and he gives a few words that Elder Ning and Meng Chao are only friends. No matter how great a harvester was, it's fine for him to admit that knowing nothing of an item, just like what happened right now because of his ego, young Master Nai would have died for this ignorance. So, he advised him that he mustn't misunderstand him, and this might change his life, or else he remains arrogant, he might end up dead. After hearing those words, Liao gone mad after taking these words as threat. But Meng Chao told him that he's not trying to threaten him as he keeps talking. Someone blocks his mouth from talking, and someone hold his hand to stop making unnecessary movement. It turns out Elder Ning and Zushi tries to stop him from talking to prevent him destroy his reputation after he done too much. Liao was so mad, saying, "How dare you let this mad dog and allow him to cause trouble? Are you seriously not paying my grandfather any respect?" This made Elder Ning got so mad while replying that, "Are you even someone worth of calling me by my name?" Because of this, Elder Ning thought that he just want to provoke him so that he can get into trouble with his grandfather, so that his grandfather can step on his head while he's poisoned. So Elder Ning wants to give what his grandfather wants, and challenges his grandfather to have a public competition against Poisonous Hand. Liao was so confidently accepted this challenge, he warns him to don't dare say that his grandfather bullied a cripple with trembling hands. But Elder Ning was so confident that he can deal with Liao Santong even his hands are crippled. After some people heard their argument, they got excited that the Poisonous Hand and Ghostly Hands will having a competition for the true legacy of Jade assessment skill. After 3 hours, the trade fair ends, and Elder Ning will send the material to Meng Chao as soon as possible before splitting. Just a moment, young Master Nai stops them because he was actually waiting for Meng Chao all this time. He gives a Dragon City Bank card that has 300,000 appraisal fee with 5% of the transaction amount as a rule, which Meng Chao entitlement. Along this, he gave a name card. If ever Meng Chao run into any trouble, he can help him up. Zushi told him to keep the card unless he absolutely need, and warns Meng Chao to never approach him because Nai Weigao was a son of a rich man and he helps in a way that you may not be able to accept. Just as sudden, the Tinder showed up another notification. He received a 333 contribution points after saving elite citizen Yan Zhenin. That made him confused how he saved the Princess Ripple's old father. 10 minutes ago, from the deep in the fog forest, there are 3 superhuman witches, Hu Hu, Zhu Yan, and lastly Yan Zhenin. They are fighting one of a green huge monster from the deep fog. Just as sudden, its mouth released something. It turns out this monster was going to mutate while fighting them. The monster turns into a flower-like monster, and they are having trouble since it became much powerful. One of his comrades got hit by the monster, while the other one got entangled while in the mid-air. When he was entangled, he tried to swing his axe and used the boost to add more force to his swing. But he was so shocked after hitting the tentacle it broke his axe because of the sturdiness of its skin. However, Yan Zhenin was running, and a tentacle was about to approach him as he tried to take his position. But luckily, he manages to block it with his power. He parried the tentacle, and he started to lunges at the monster. He was so fast that flawlessly managed to dodge the simultaneous attack of the monster, and as he came close to it, he holds it. He made an opening to dash closer from the monster while his eyes glowing. He punches it multiple times and do one of the ripple technique to this monster. The attack was too powerful that even the monster didn't manage to withstand the powerful blow. This made him shocked because the ripple technique he did was the demon ripple force that increased his combat power by 2 times. Both of his comrades were so amazed after seeing this strong ripple force. He can't believe that he seems to offended an old and unfathomable monster. They approach him after being speechless from what he did, even though the monster was already dead. This is because he was doubting that the Yan family is going to face a great disaster. The next day, someone kicks Yan Zhenin's face. He flew against the wall with his back. This is caused by his grandfather was so mad after modifying the ripple force. Luckily, Faye came in when his grandfather takes his gun and wanting to kill Yan Zhenin before he ruins the Yan's family. Faye blocks the gun to stop her grandfather to kill her father. Her grandfather lowered the gun while saying that his father had no idea what a terrible existence he had offended. Faye asked her grandfather, "Although our Yan clan is not the strongest in Dragon City, it's not something that can be taken lightly." This is because her grandfather was afraid the old monster who created demonically modified ripple force is really angry, and the Yan family would be wiped out. It was pioneers who survived the initial raging zombie disaster and explored the path of superhuman at all costs. Dragon City executives have long discovered that there are more terrifying monsters in the depths of the fog. In order to deal with these monsters, those old monsters have been studying how to upgrade their current martial art, meaning the demonically modified ripple force is likely to be born like this. Because of probability of seeing the Yan family's little princess cuteness, they gave opportunity for the Yan family. Otherwise, the great opportunity spoiled by his son and kicks him for being like this. Faye tries to convince his grandfather not to beat his father and settle this down from talking. He replied that the level of seniors is not simple that the Yan family can contact unless the seniors forgives them. Faye made an idea to make an public apology from the old fire relayer if he was angry to prevent dragging down the Yan family. Thanks for watching. We hope we entertain you and enjoy the content we have provided. We update our channel regularly with manhwa content, so make sure you subscribe for more. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. Lastly, we would love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or feedback. Until next time, take care and stay safe.